Federation white, yellow and green belt syllabus. The techniques you're about to see are demonstrated by Robert Clark, Soke and founder of the World Ju Jitsu Federation, and his personal student and United Kingdom national coach, Alan Campbell.
30 years of intensive training and study of all martial arts have resulted in the effective and comprehensive system you will see here. Jiu-Jitsu stresses the notion of health, that is, the whole body and mind working efficiently and in harmony. Our exercises tend to work the body gently and thoroughly, and always well within its limits. Exercises should always be performed with concentration, since it's part of their function to focus students' mental horizons onto the lesson. The following traditional exercises will be found to benefit training. You'll note that all except one concentrate on working the spine. This is because the spine is very important in Jiu-Jitsu practice. Perform the exercises in a gentle manner, holding them for at least 10 seconds at the point of maximum stretch. Avoid all jerky movements and don't cheat. This final exercise combines shoulder and elbow movement in a simple routine. Lift both arms in front of your upper chest, circle them one way for a while, then pause and reverse the direction of the rotation. Start slowly and gradually increase your speed. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, because in any self-defense encounter, there's always a chance that you'll lose your balance or be thrown to the floor, and there'll not be a mat to land on. Also, Jiu-Jitsu practice involves both performing throwing techniques and having them performed on you. Therefore, you must learn how to land with safety. Most Jiu-Jitsu break falls should be followed up with a counterpunch or kick. Jiu-Jitsu practice begins and ends with courtesy. Not only is this courtesy expressed in the form of polite attention to what the teacher is saying, but it's also expressed by the means of a bow. These striking techniques are practiced before each Jiu-Jitsu lesson and enables a student to build up strength, speed and power. The students encouraged to use both left and right punches and kicks to promote all-round flexibility. In the event of an attack, the student should be able to block and counter-attack using any hand or foot. Now we move on to basic Jiu-Jitsu blocks. Upward rising block. Downward inside forearm block. Upward inside forearm block. Downward X block. Upward X block. And cross block. These techniques are assimilated into a set pattern called a kata or form. This is the first basic blocking kata for white belt. Basic blocks are followed by reflex training. Focus your eyes on the center of your opponent's chest and deflect his punches using downward parries. The attacker begins at a slow pace, attacking with either hand, gradually building up speed and power. Momentum can be increased as the student gains more confidence and awareness with regular practice. All escapes from the front strangles begin from this position. Step back, protect your face, break attacker's grip and strike to the side of the head. This is the second variation of breaking a front strangle. Punch the solar plexus whilst pulling down on the elbow, push against the jaw, step forward exerting pressure on the elbow. This is the third variation. Step backwards, uppercut, take attacker's wrist and step forward pressing on his shoulder and head, exert pressure on the wrist. This is a close-up view of the lock. Note the downward pressure on the shoulder. Breaking a back strangle. Place arm around his waist, strike to the groin, pull on the elbow and take to the ground. Strike to the head and groin and apply lock. Technique number 3. Step forward, back fist to rib cage, swivel on left leg, placing your arm around the waist, pull on the attacker's arm, throwing him to the floor. Strike to the eardrum and groin before applying the lock. Note the restraining position on attacker's arms prior to the throw. Straight arm lock. Block punch, protect against further attack, pivot to the side and apply arm lock against joints. Note the inverted wrist lock. Now you can see the benefit of the protecting arm. Block punch, push elbow away, invert the wrist, step across and apply arm lock by pushing outwards. This is a close-up viewed from a different angle. Shoulder lock. Block and swivel, apply shoulder lock and kick to the face. Note the concentrated pressure using 2 hands. This technique can be developed by taking the attacker to the floor and applying head or neck pressure. Hip throw. Step to one side, place your arm around the attacker's waist, bend your knees and throw to the ground. Strike to head and groin and apply lock. Note the foot positions, striking points and the lock. Recumbent ankle throw. Block and step to the side, place left hand on the floor and slip your left foot behind the attacker's left ankle. Thrust your right foot into the side of the attacker's knee. Pull your right foot back for maximum power and kick to the groin. Note the pressure applied to the ankle and knee prior to the kick. Hip throw with shoulder arm lock. Block and execute basic hip throw, followed by shoulder arm lock. Note the position of the right hand, which is relevant in the next technique. The protective hand can be used to block further attacks, such as a kick. Apply leg lock, raise attacker onto his shoulders. After stepping over him, sit on the attacker's back and execute spine and leg lock. throw with cross arm lock. Block, followed by hip throw. Step over and strike jaw with heel. Lift attacker. Sit back, change your grip on his wrist, and apply pressure on his elbow against your knee. Note the elevation of the attacker's body, enabling you to offset his resistance to the lock. This is a further variation of a crossover arm lock. Following the throw, step across, striking attacker's wrist, turn him onto his face, stepping over using your left leg to apply a back hammer lock, lean across and apply arm and shoulder lock. Note the pressure applied to the arm locks by the straightening of the rear leg. Defense against kicks to the head whilst on the ground. Technique number 1. From a prone position, block kick, turn attacker's knee away, forcing him to fall away from your body as your right leg takes his leg in a front scissors lock. Variation number 2. Block kick, clench fist, put your arm behind the attacker's ankle, roll with him, pushing your shoulder against his knee, and strike. Note the strikes to the groin and solar plexus. Variation number 3. This defense uses the recumbent ankle throw, as demonstrated earlier in the white belt syllabus. This is a classic application of this technique. Practice with care, as accuracy of the kick is of prime importance. Variation number 4. Following the block, place your left leg inside the attacker's leg. Take down and apply double leg lock. This throw demonstrates the importance of a satisfactory front break fall, as shown in the white belt syllabus. Three arm locks from a standing position. Technique number 1.
Okay.
Block as early and as high as possible, striking to ribs and keeping your elbows tucked into the sides of your body. Kneel and take attacker to the floor. Lock and restrain by standing on his hand. Using the baton, apply a lock. Technique number 2. Step to the side, block, take attacker's wrist and palm heel strike to the jaw. Strike inside of elbow and thrust baton back into his face. Swivel, take down and use knee against mastoid whilst applying pressure to wrist. Technique number 3. upward rising block, and punch to attacker's ribs. Apply figure 4 lock. Take leg inside into throwing position. Technique number 4. Double wrist and arm lock is followed by throw. Note the restraining position at the elbows and wrists prior to the throw. Shoulder arm lock. It's essential to move forward on the right leg, enabling you to move into a throwing position at a later stage. Following the push and block punch, step in and apply an arm lock and throat grip. Variation number 2. After stepping forward, block punch. Take wrist strike to side of head, wrap arm around attacker's arm and press against his elbow. Push upwards against the chin. It's very important to step away out of range, and when you put your arm over the attacker's arm, make sure that the contact point is elbow to elbow. 3 wrist locks. Technique number 1. Step back and block, push his wrist down towards your stomach, put your hands behind the elbow and pull inwards. Take the wrist, move into position and throw. Use your heel to strike. Technique number 2. Step back following the push, take wrist and turn. Step forward and apply pressure to shoulder and wrist. Note the high arc of the arm and the kick, which is introduced to further subdue the attacker. Variation number 3. From a wrist grab, block punch, kick attacker's knee, turn his arm whilst applying pressure to the wrist. Step forward and apply locks. The attacker may be taken to the ground and restrained. Following the kick, note the lock on the attacker's thumb and arm. Pressure can be applied to the back of the head using your elbow. Variation number 4. From a wrist grab, step back and kick to the face. Note the almost prayer-like position of the hands when applying the lock. Variation number 5. From a double wrist grab, step backwards, kick solar plexus. Turn hands upwards as if to touch your nose. Take attacker's thumb and push his wrist away from you. Take him down by applying pressure against the thumb. Step forward, knee on head, and press against the elbow, bracing his wrist against your knee. Variation number 6. This is a wrist lock incorporating a blocking technique. Wrist throw with lock. Following push and punch, take wrist, turn and take down. Kneel on his elbow and apply wrist lock. Note the position of the thumbs on his hand and remember to turn his hand palm downwards before applying lock. Variation number 2. From a knife attack, whilst blocking, swivel to the side to avoid the path of the weapon. Kick and take to the ground, applying lock as before. Always take possession of the weapon. Climbing leg throw with strikes. Block, step to the side, kneel down and use shoulder against knee, forcing the attacker to the ground. Strike to throat. Note the position of the kneeling leg in relation to the attacker. Kneel, strike to the back of the ankle, push against the knee with shoulder, use elbow to lower ribs, back fist to head, then strike to throat. Breaking a ground strangle. Variation number 1. You must act quickly. Strike to the chin, place your right foot against his knee, push and take his wrist, bring your left leg over his head and place under his chin. Apply arm lock. Variation number 2. This is the same counter using a different restraint. Following the same procedure, this time we move into a reverse back hammer lock. It's important to lean forwards to effect maximum leverage. Variation number 3, from various angles. Break your attacker's grip, place your ankles inside his, placing your arm around his head and under his armpit. Turn him onto his side and hammer blow to the chest. Locks can now be applied. Variation number 4. Attack by thrusting your fingers into the armpits and thumbs into the chest. Pull forward and turn attacker onto his back and strike to the groin. Please pay particular attention to the following variations. These will include a side strangle, a prone strangle, and overhead strangles. Green belt. The following techniques are demonstrated at varying speeds and from different angles. Body drop. Step to the side, ensuring that the right leg is kept rigid, and throw. Throw, step over the opponent, pinning his arm to the ground, kneel and apply shoulder lock. This is a variation from a double punch. This lock is made more effective by continuing to pin his left arm to the ground whilst effecting the lock. Here's the throw from a different angle. Half shoulder. Cross block, strike to attacker's ribs with a back fist. To gain more power, pull the striking arm back as far as possible. Please note the lock against the elbow prior to the throw. To effect the final lock, push on the elbow using both hands. Leg throw with lock. Block, push back on the thigh whilst pulling up on the ankle. Step over his right leg and hook his ankle into a figure 4 lock. These are variations on leg locks. After locking, step across and strike the chin. Turn opponent into the figure 4 lock and lean back to apply pressure. Dropping version of a full shoulder. Pull down on elbow, kneel, pushing against his ankle to assist the throw. Variation number 2. In this technique, note that your continuing grip on his wrist causes him to rotate as he falls. After pulling his arm under his head, kneel and apply pressure. Back hammer lock. Following the downward block, push the wrist away and rotate the elbow towards you. Crab claw scissor throw. Take wrist, drop your right hand to the floor and your right leg behind, keeping it straight. Following the takedown, strike to the bridge of the nose using a hammer blow. Tacking sweeping loin. Strike with knee to the solar plexus, pivot on the left leg, and sweep your attacker with a rigid right leg. takedown, reach behind his head and under the arm, thrusting right leg forward to apply lock. Block headbutt, stepping backwards and kick to the plexus. Sweep and lock. Please note that you step in on the right leg for this technique and sweep with the same leg. Cross hock throw. Block, heel kick to upper spine, sweep backwards against his leg, raise attacker and kneel affecting wrist and headlock. Drawing ankle. Swing your left foot forward, striking against your opponent's ankle and pull forward. Step across, heel kick to head, kneel and effect headlock. Inside hock throw. Block, strike to throat, hook your leg behind his and push backwards. After takedown, kick to groin, stamp on throat. Stamp throw. Step in and stamp right foot, raising right knee as high as possible. This helps the momentum of the throw. Following throw, stamp on wrist and lever his right arm against your knee. Two methods of escape when held over and under arms. Technique number 1. Strike attacker's hand, take his leg and pull to unbalance him. Strike to groin and kidney. Push the attacker's leg away prior to the kick. Technique number 2. Strike to back of hand, pivot, take wrist and push down his shoulder into back hammerlock. Technique number 3. Step forward, dropping your right shoulder, throw and kick to the back of the head. Maintain your grip on the wrist whilst kicking. Technique number 4. Step behind your attacker, pushing him back and down, reverse your grip into lock. Technique number 5. Step to the side, take both his knees and drop to the floor. Strike with elbow to the groin. Technique number 6. Strike to the ears, pull back on his hair. Using the forefinger and thumb, apply pressure to the jaw and press into the groin with your knee. Following takedown, wrap arm around into straight arm lock and continue to apply pressure to jaw and groin. Turn and throw, affecting straight arm lock. Before throwing, strike to the nose using the heel of your palm. Knee wheel. Block, step across and kick to the side of the attacker's knee using the sole of your foot. Pull down, then apply pressure to chest and elbow. Bar choke. Here are a number of variations showing a bar choke. Technique number 1. After blocking, reach inside attacker's collar, gripping as high as possible, pushing your forearm into the throat whilst pulling forward. Technique number 2. This variation shows the thumb inside the jacket and a scissor movement of the hands. Variations on shoulder throws. All shoulder throws are executed with pressure against the elbow joint. Technique number 1. Block and take the attacker's arm across the body in a circular movement. Pull down and against the elbow joint and throw. Whilst kneeling on the head, invert the wrist and pull upwards on the elbow. Technique number 2. This technique is a reversal of the first and finishes with a shoulder and headlock. Lapel and shoulder throw. Take lapel, leave the attacker's arm against your elbow, throw and wrap his arm around the back of his head, striking with your elbow against the jaw. When taking the lapel, note the position of the thumb weakening the attacker's resistance. Pull upwards on his collar prior to elbow pressure. This is a further variation from a double punch. Throw and step across, putting pressure against the throat, arm and inner thigh. Sweeping half shoulder throw. Block, step into half shoulder position, throw using leg sweep, kneel and effect arm and neck lock. Here is the same throw from a different angle. Turn the attacker's palm upwards, applying pressure on his thumbs. Throw. Stand on his hands and push his elbows outwards into a lock. And strike. Strangle holds from the back. And now from the front. Extreme care should be taken when practicing these techniques. Do not apply pressure during training. Here are a selection of restraining techniques which can be used to hold an opponent on the ground, as seen from different angles.
Yeah.
Rice bale throw. Technique number 1. Block, strike to solar plexus, pull the head down under your arm to throw. Make sure your attacker's right arm is restrained within the lock. Here's the throw from a different angle. Variation number 2. Take your arm around his head and under his shoulder. Throw and reverse roll into a double shoulder and headlock. Escape from a full and half Nelson. Technique number 1. Step to the side, take both knees, lift, spin and drop to the floor. Invert wrist and press against elbow. Technique number 2. Step forward, kneel and roll your opponent over into a spinal lock. Note the position of the right palm. Escape from a half Nelson. Stamp on the attacker's right foot, turn inside into a back hammer lock. Execute a rolling ankle throw, followed by a neck scissor lock. An inverted wrist lock is applied. Stamp, pull down on attacker's right arm, pulling him across your shoulders.
Yeah.
Apply thumb lock.
Yeah.
Technique number 3.
Yeah.
Strike to groin using heel, turn the attacker's wrist into back hammer lock.
Oh, yes.
Pull back on his hair and force the elbow upwards. Front scissors throw. Technique number 1. Outside block. Place left hand on floor, stepping past the attacker. Place left leg in front of the attacker. Strike to the back of his knee with your right leg. Sit up and across, affecting leg lock. This is a variation of a front scissors against 2 punches. Step across and attack the opposite leg, reversing your footwork. The lock can now be effected by rolling forward.
the second in the series of the World Ju Jitsu Federation syllabus and will take the student through blue, purple and brown belt. We'll assume that students will have seen the first tape in the series and will now be aware of how to prepare for training. You'll also know all the basic stances used in Jiu-Jitsu, so we'll not be describing them again. More attention is paid to groundwork in this tape, which will give the students a more rounded approach to their Jiu-Jitsu techniques. Once again, these techniques are demonstrated by founder of the World Ju Jitsu Federation, Robert Clark, and his personal student and United Kingdom national coach, Alan Campbell. Blue belt. Loin or hip wheel. This move will be demonstrated from various angles. Block. Place your hand under the armpit and swivel into hip throw. Lock by placing left hand behind the head and underarm. Apply pressure below the cheekbones. Here is a technique from a different angle. Note the pulling and pushing action on the defender's arms prior to the takedown. This is a variation demonstrating a reverse loin or hip wheel. Note the circular blocking motion, pushing the opponent's arm across his body prior to the throw. Now from another angle. Following the throw, lock by inverting the wrist and pulling upwards on the elbow. 3 ways of escape from head chancery. Variation number 1. Strike to groin and move into reverse body drop. After striking, pull the elbow into your body, pushing the wrist away. Lock by pushing the wrist away and pulling up on the elbow. Variation number 2. Press under opponent's nose and push back whilst applying pressure to the inner thigh. Note the pull on the elbow prior to the takedown. Back fist to groin into Indian deathlock. Variation number 3. Escape using a rear throw. Note the atemi strikes prior to takedowns. Escape into a dropping version of a full shoulder. Assisting throw by pushing up on the leg. Apply crossover arm lock. Attack inner thigh and apply back hammer lock. Step forward and apply pressure to right leg. Countermeasures against garroting. Variation number 1 from the front. This is an escape using a body drop throw. Palm heel strikes to chin and groin. Weaken the grip prior to throw. Pull down and push upwards on elbow before moving into body drop. Finish with a strike to the mastoid. Now from different angles. Strike to the arm, pull down, push upwards and move into a back hock. From a different angle. Following throw, heel kick to sternum. Variation number 3 from the rear. Step forward, back fist to ribs, Wrap left arm around opponent's arm and move into hip throw. Apply shoulder arm lock. Variation number 4 from a rear garrote. Turn, strike to ribs, scoop opponent's knees, strike to groin and throat. Variations on holding down. These hold downs and locks can be applied following any throw or takedown, and it's up to the individual practitioner to decide which combination to select. It's important when applying these locks that extreme care is taken to prevent serious injury to your partner. The techniques in this section should always be demonstrated slowly, with no fast or jerky movements. The practitioner should be aware at this stage of any counter move by the opponent and be prepared to move into a secondary locking position. Although these locks are being demonstrated in a form, individual students can develop their own sequence. Breaking strangles and chokes on the ground. This section features escapes from strangles and chokes whilst on the ground, countering with hold down and locks. Fast response is the main element in combating any strangle. You and your partner must take great care to avoid applying undue pressure whilst applying the choke. The previous section and this one are integral parts of a comprehensive self-defense syllabus and should be practiced diligently, as continuous training will enable you to become aware of any sudden counter-resistance by an attacker. You'll then be in a position to deal with this effectively. Hold downs are often combined with strikes to vital body points. Version of a body drop. Variation number 1. Cross block, place hand under left armpit and strike to the ribs. Kneel, keeping a very rigid right leg, and throw. This is another variation. Outside block, strike to solar plexus, turn under opponent's arm, kneel and strike and throw, followed by lock. Scissors and naked choke hold. Outside block, stepping to one side, strike to the back and apply choke. Take down using scissor movement, applying pressure under lower rib cage. Grip your opponent's collar and turn. Lean forward and apply choke and back hammerlock. Pull down on right arm, pushing up on your left, while stepping in and lifting your opponent's leg with your own. Apply straight arm lock. Scooping throws. Front scoop. Upward block, strike to throat with forearm. Push backwards and scoop, followed by strike. This throw is considered to be one of the most dangerous throws in the syllabus, and care should be taken during practice to prevent your partner's head hitting the floor. Rear scoop. X block, knee to plexus, strike to back of neck, scoop and throw. From another angle. Following throw, back fist to spine, wrap the legs into a figure four lock and lean forward. Indian death lock. Cross block, elbow strike, step to the side and kneel. Lean into the opponent, forcing him backwards. You'll see the finish demonstrated from a different angle. Strike to groin, place your palm on the floor inside his leg and apply lock. Downward inside forearm block. Downward inside and upward rising blocks. Roundhouse kick to solar plexus while walking. These kicks must be practiced from both sides. Sleeper hold from a head chancery. This lock is preceded by a strike to the head using the inside forearm. The pressure is applied whilst taking the opponent to the ground. Outside forearm block and elbows to ribs. Outside block, step in, elbow strike to kidney and back fist. Note the defensive position of the left hand. Knife attacks. This section demonstrates defences against knife attacks as seen from varying angles and speeds. Please ensure that extreme care is taken during these exercises.
An important point to remember following an attempted attack is to always try and gain control of the weapon to keep your attacker under restraint, or to deter any further aggression from a second assailant. Block, step to the side into back hammer lock. Although our demonstration uses a steel blade, we recommend that only a rubber or wooden knives are used during practice. Ensure that extreme care is taken during these exercises. Purple belt. Valley drop throw. As seen from various angles. From a push, take attacker's elbows, step past him and drop to the floor using his own body weight to gain momentum for the throw. Roll into the attacker, placing your right knee under his arm and past his head. This maneuver will enable the lock to be applied more effectively. Counter to straight arm lock. Variation number 1. It's important to push the elbow away from you whilst turning the wrist palm downwards. This will relieve the pressure on the elbow. You can see the push and turn in close detail. Step across, take hold of the opponent's wrist and throw. Retain the hold and apply double wrist lock. Variation number 2. Repeat the previous maneuver, but this time step behind and push the opponent backwards. Note the push involves a strike to the face and is followed by a punch to the groin. Counter to back arm and collar hold.
Variation number 1, as demonstrated from various angles. Step forward, strike to ribs, duck under opponent's arm into back hammerlock, and perform rolling ankle throw. Now from a different angle. Maintain the back hammerlock during the throw and move into a wrist lock and head scissors. Variation number 2. Strike to ribs, step back and elbow to the face before applying lock. Note the wrist and elbow position prior to the throw. Step over opponent, lift him from the ground and kneel into neck lock. Single or double wrist locks can be applied. Variation number 3. Back fist to ribs, break opponent's grip and double lock both arms. Note the evasive position of the defender's head during the lock. Place arm round waist and move into hip throw, followed by shoulder arm lock. Here we can see the technique demonstrated from a different angle. Counter to bar choke. Variation number 1. Kick to the knee, turn wrist and apply pressure to elbow and step forward. Note the rotation of the wrist and elbow prior to lock. Variation number 2. Move into back hock throw. And from a different angle. Points to remember, pull down on left arm and push up on the right prior to the throw. Roundhouse kick to kidneys. These should be practiced from both sides and all kicks should be focused. Following the strike, the kicking leg is placed in a stabilizing position. Upward rising block. Upward rising blocks demonstrated at varying speeds. Upward inside forearm block. All blocks are more effective if the fist is kept clenched. Downward inside forearm block. Block, step to the side into back hammerlock. Now from a different angle. The lock is followed by a punch to the ear. Front kick followed by a side kick. At this stage, a second attacker can be added during training. Kicks should be aimed at vital areas such as plexus or groin. Full shoulder. Block and turn underneath opponent's arm, apply upward pressure to elbow, kneel and throw. The technique is seen from the front and is finished with a knee pin and wrist lock.
head, hip and knee throw. Block and strike with inner forearm to the side of the neck prior to the throw. Pivot and kneel, take the opponent to the ground and apply hold down with a double arm lock with pressure on the throat. Side thrust kick. These kicks should be practiced using both legs. Against the knee. Against the solar plexus. And against the chin. Front snap kick. The groin. The solar plexus. The chin. Always make contact with the ball of your foot, keeping toes well back and your knee raised as high as possible prior to the strike. Wedge block. Step back, keeping your head down to avoid a headbutt. Bring your arms inside the attacker's arms and kick. Following the kick, pivot and sweep the legs. Lock elbow and strike to the jaw. Shoulder wheel. Block, step back on right leg, pulling opponent off balance. Step in and pull his arm down and across your chest. Whilst pulling downwards, push upwards against his leg. Following the throw, reverse back kick. Pressure points. The following pressure points are the most commonly used in Jiu-Jitsu. Once again, care should be taken during application. When the finger or thumb is used, the pressure must be applied with the ball of the thumb, pad of the finger, or the knuckle. At this stage, the student will require to have a basic knowledge of anatomy to enable him to understand the location of the vulnerable parts of the body. Brown belt.
Winding throws. Outer wind. Block, strike with palm heel to chin, step to the side and kneel, turning inside, rolling the attack around your body. Now you can see the turn inside your opponent's roll. Now another variation of an outer wind. Inner wind. In this wind, your arm is brought underneath the opponent's arm. The lock is achieved by bracing your attacker's elbow against your upper arm. From this angle, you must note the elbow strike to ribs prior to the throw. Variation on leg sweep. This is a leg sweep. Ankle sweep. Knee sweep. Thigh sweep. Inner ankle sweep. And inner knee sweep. Now an example of a rear sweep. Ankle, knee, thigh. Double sweep against ankles, knees, thighs. Now from a different angle. While sweeping, be sure your leg is rigid and used in a striking action against the limbs. Note the effectiveness of an ankle sweep. On rear sweeps, observe the arch of the attacker's back prior to throw. This is achieved by pulling down on the arm and pushing against the collarbone. Rolling ankle. This sacrifice throw is achieved by making full use of your attacker's forward momentum. Note the push under the armpit and the locked ankle position. Note the upward push against the ankle. The move is completed with a kick to the kidney. A variation using a straight arm lock. The lock is maintained during the throw. For safety reasons during practice, relax the pressure on the arm. Corner throw. This throw uses your left ankle against your opponent's right, while lifting your right foot against his inner left leg. From a different angle. Note the position of the arms, as the pull down with the simultaneous leg action creates the momentum for the throw. This is another variation using one leg. A corner throw, which locks the knees and the ankles prior to the throw. During the locking of the knees and ankles, ensure that your head is turned to the side and the attacker thrown well clear. Here's a close-up of the ankle and knee lock prior to the throw. Rear throw. This is the last in the series of sacrifice throws, approach from the rear. As seen from a different angle. Hand behind the head and punch or upward push with palm to the stomach prior to roll. The same action employed in the rear throw can also be used from a frontal attack using the forward momentum of the aggressor to your advantage. A variation attacking the groin prior to throw. Block, turn, strike under groin, pull down on his right arm and roll. Look closely at the turning of the defender's body during the throw. The finish is a figure 4 lock. Cross ankle throw. This throw shows the defender stepping across the opponent and locking against the ankle. From a different angle. Note the windmill action of the attacker's arms during the throw and the hold down using the thumb against the pressure point. A variation against a strangle or push. This variation can be done by turning inside your opponent and gripping the upper arms. And shown from a different angle. Note the coordination of legs and arms during the throw. Leg wheel. When approaching from behind, always push the elbow away from you and encourage your partner to hold your belt to ensure a clean and safe break fall. From a side view. The leg wheel attacks the opponent's knee. Variation against a double punch. A double circular block is used and the opponent's arm is pushed across his body. Note the pivoting of the defender's left leg. Outer wheel. The throw is performed by pulling backwards, pushing forwards and striking with your leg against the back of the opponent's legs. From a different angle. Always ensure you step past the opponent and lean forward as much as possible, keeping your legs straight. A variation of an outer wheel. Step to the side, attack kidney, lock your opponent's arm and leg, step forward and throw, apply head and arm lock. Action against 3 or more attackers. Variation number 1. These are suggested multiple attack sequences that the prospective brown belt should practice. From a different angle. Please pay particular attention to the position of the defender during these attacks. Variation number 2. Always allow the attacker to approach you, never leave your own position. From a different angle. Variation number 3. Be prepared to employ the blocks, kicks, punches and throws that you've learnt in previous syllabus. From a different angle. Variation number 4. Please note the strikes to the vulnerable areas of the body. From a different angle. Variation number 5. Always try to obstruct the approach of the second or third aggressor by throwing into and blocking their path. This gives you time to prepare for the next defense. from a different angle. You can now see clearly the advantage to be gained by standing your ground and letting the aggressors move into your space. Variation on stomach throws. Using the right leg, the left leg, double-footed throw, side-footed throw, and reverse double-footed throw. Outer hook throw. Note the inverted movement of the defender's attacking leg. From a different angle. Observe the concerted push to the chest and hooking of the leg during the throw. Several ways of throwing opponents from behind. The following techniques are attacking moves designed to use the elements of surprise when an aggressor may be threatening a friend or colleague. You can approach the area unseen and instigate an attack from behind. Shoulder dislocations. These single and double shoulder locks are employed following throws and takedowns. These techniques can also be used to hold down and restrain an aggressor until help arrives.
Yes.
Once again, extreme care should be taken when applying these locks, as any sudden movement can result in serious injury. Dropping version of a reverse body drop. Block, step past the opponent, kneel keeping your legs straight, exert pressure against his knees and push backwards. The legs should be kept very straight and this is a variation. Palm heel block, step across and elbow strike to the back. Take the opponent into a headlock and move into a reverse body drop position. Apply a neck and reverse elbow lock. Shoulder crash. Move into a shoulder wheel position and drop the opponent off your back. Palm heel knockout blow to chin. The following examples are to demonstrate strikes to the chin using the heel of the hand. Keep fingers arched backwards and use a short clipping strike. It's important to tense the stomach muscles and exhale on impact. Left upward block with knife hand to neck. Pull the opponent's attacking arm down as you strike. Note the recoil of the attacking hand following the strike. The attacking hand is always slightly cupped with fingers kept rigid, when held by both arms from behind. Variation number 1. For an effective and powerful back kick, raise the knee as high as possible. Variation number 2.
Yes.
Step back, slap attacker's hands together and turn outwards into a wrist lock. Take the leg and maintain the lock.
Yeah.
A close-up of the wrist lock shows that if this position is maintained, it will deter any further attack. It's important to place your thumb at the back of the attacker's hand before the lock is applied.
Yeah.
Variation number 3. Slap the attacker's hands together and step under and into a shoulder and wrist lock. To effect the locks, bear down on the opponent's shoulder. Variation number 4. Turn under the opposite arm and move into a standing outer wind. Note the position of the defending arm to block any further attack. Trap the attacker's left arm behind his head during the lock. Up to the neck with kick to the solar plexus. Variation number 1. This is normally practiced against 2 attackers from left and right sides. From a different angle. Variation number 2 uses a reverse back kick. Note the knife hand strike to the neck following the cross block. From a different angle. At this stage, you can see the benefit of being able to kick your opponent using both legs. Side kick to kneecap. Upward kick to kneecap. Remember to turn the toes back and kick with the heel, and once again practice from both sides. Three different blocks using the same blocking arm. Practice from both sides to build up a fast reactional defense. Arm and shoulder throw with shoulder lock and wrist lock. Outside block. Step in and take the wrist and upper arm, then exert the pressure by bearing down. From a different angle. Whilst taking the attacker down, slip your leg away from the body and use your own weight to your advantage. Observe the position of the defender's left knee, trapping the forearm against the body. Roundhouse kick from ground to lower body. In the event you may find yourself on the ground during an attack, the ability to kick the attacker effectively from this position can be a great advantage. Strikes should always be directed to the most vulnerable parts of the body. Using the heel from the rear. Heighten the kick by elevating yourself off the ground. Now using the side of the foot. Side thrust kick to back of the knee from ground. Place your hand on the floor, hooking your left foot in front of your opponent's right leg and thrust kick to the back of the knee. From a different angle. Side snap kick. To the knee. Under the arm. And to the throat. Side thrust kick to kneecap, followed by roundhouse to ribs. Practice this move from both sides. One-handed throws. In the event that you may have sustained an injury to one arm in Jiu-Jitsu, it's still possible to throw an opponent effectively. Reclining leg throw. Inside hock. Dropping version of a body drop. Reverse rolling ankle with a shoulder and head pin.